overview of our latest consumer segmentation development that will allow you a full rounded view of how consumers use, understand and utilise products and services in the financial services sector. As Gemma mentioned, my name is Matthew Southgate and I'm the Product Manager for Experian's consumer segmentation products. There is an ability to ask questions which have already been mentioned on your GoToWebinar control panel, so please do as we go through, and I've put aside some time at the end to answer those. This webinar is intended for those with no or very little experience of Experian's financial strategy segments products. That said, I'll try and keep this under 30 minutes, so even those with some experience of our previous version of financial strategy segments, since this version is such a leap forward, there will be something for everyone. In a first for me, I'm going to attempt to run a poll to make sure I pitch the information at the right level and relate it to the appropriate sectors. So shortly a poll will appear on your screen, and what I'd like to understand is what prompted you to join today's webinar. Clicking the radio buttons on screen, please select between whether you've previously used financial strategy segments, are starting to use segmentation products, perhaps you currently use other segmentation solutions, or you're just here through general curiosity, or perhaps you think you're on the wrong webinar and you don't even know what financial strategy segments are. So let's give a few more minutes for the few more votes to come in. Okay, I think we're getting the general picture now. So a lot of it's general curiosity, a lot of you are here for that, and a few of you are previous users of financial strategy segments and are interested in what we're doing with the latest version. And a few more just coming through that currently use other segmentation solutions, so obviously you have some curiosity as well. Okay, well thank you for doing that. We'll close the poll now. Secondly, I'd like to get a very quick understanding of the sector that you represent today. So we'll put up another poll. Again, click the radio buttons on screen and select between whether you represent banking or credit cards, insurance, mortgages, pensions or savings and investments or another sector. Apologies if I'm to bundle a few together there. We're only allowed 5 responses, so we'll see what we've got there. Again, we'll close the vote in a few moments once more of you voted. Okay. All right, a lot of people coming through now. Okay, so we have a number of people, well, across the board really, and a lot of people from other sectors that we perhaps haven't included in our 5 options. Okay, so I'll keep it quite broad for most people. That'll be fine. Great stuff. All right, we'll close the poll. At Experian, we have a large number of clients who use financial strategy segments for a number of reasons. The most common are flowing onto screen now. Financial strategy segment fills in a lot of the blanks for our clients, allowing them a full, rounded view of consumers' needs and wants, attitudes and aspirations, whereby they may otherwise know very little, or be at one end of a consumer's financial story. By increasing your understanding of the consumer who is receiving your communication, you will be able to increase the chances of them understanding your message, choosing your product, or changing their behaviour. Financial strategy segments can go wider than that. As a full UK solution, it can be used to scope and size markets, highlight gaps in your offering, or suggest tweaks to your propositions. This is the 4th generation of our financial strategy segments product, and it's grown from strength to strength each time. I believe we're now providing a product that answers more questions for our clients than ever before, allowing consistent communication with consumers across more channels than ever before. As consumers become more and more savvy and have more and more resources at their disposal across multiple devices, it has never been more important to ensure the right consumer is receiving the right message at the right time on the right device via the right channel. And financial strategy segments can help you do that. To give you a flavour of the type of insight you can gain from use of financial strategy segments, I present to you what financial strategy segments thinks of me. Taken from our visualization platform, which will be available in late January, www.segmentationportal.com, and I'll do a live demo of that for you later. Financial strategy segments believes that I am a BO9, astute new estaters. So capable families choosing detached homes in modern estates, making sensible decisions on borrowing and switching. I have a lot in common with these types of people, as you'd expect. I switch my financial arrangements when there is a justifiable reason to do so, like the end of an introductory period when I'd otherwise move to a standard rate. And I also keep an eye on my utility bills, given that they are one of my largest outgoings. I do all of this online, along with almost all of my other purchases, usually on a credit card that I pay off in full at the end of the month. I'm a little younger than the 41 to 45 age band highlighted here, and as such my savings and pensions aren't anywhere near as large. But that said, I do share with B09 the concerns that my retirement provisions are unlikely to be enough when I make it to retirement age. If brands wish to reach me, I'll notice a branded email or direct mail, but I will always almost engage with them online. Finally, from what we can see from this portion of the segmentation portal is that I and other B09s have quite a good credit profile according to our Delphi for Marketing non-keys product. This must be true as I've recently been accepted for a new credit card which I applied for due to having suffered my first bout of credit card fraud with my recent provider. Whilst it might not be their fault, I'm relatively risk averse and see the path to avoiding this happening again is closing my current credit card and opening a new one. Financial strategy segments is the most advanced consumer segmentation we've ever built. Through our strategic partnership with YouGov, we have access to 220,000 people's answers to 127,000 different questions. Not all of them are relevant, but we've now got a segmentation product that answers more of our clients' questions than ever before. Versus our previous version of this product, we're providing just over a 5-fold increase in the number of data points, almost 2,500. New for this version of financial strategy segments is the concept of futures, a long-standing query from our clients to understand how people will change over the next 25 years. And even if you don't know that you have a B09 astute new estater as part of your customers, or you're developing a new product or proposition with a certain type of person in mind, you don't need to know the world through the lens of financial strategy segments. We have a tool to help. In the latest version of our audience tool, this will allow you to understand traditional direct mail email audiences along with the available online portal audiences of AOL and Yahoo, and over time we do hope to add other non-traditional audiences like Facebook and Sky AdSmart. And this works by asking you to provide geodemographic, attitudinal, product holdings, essentially any of the data points in financial strategy segments, and it will tell you the financial strategy segments, groups and types that are most similar to that criteria. To use me as an example, if you were to use the criteria of age 41 to 45, have a number of credit cards, risk averse, a few dependents, and moving towards a point where I'll have some savings and may be potentially looking at investments, then this is a tool which will take that criteria and play it back to you through the language of financial strategy segments. We already know that criteria will point to B09 astute new estates, but it won't stop there. It will rank every group and type in the solution by its similarity to your criteria, allowing you to increase or focus your target audience. I've mentioned groups and types. Our solutions have a few levels in which you can engage. They can also be appended to your data at different levels too. Financial strategy segments has 15 different consumer groups, 55 consumer types, 199 consumer segments, and 135 consumer person types. Don't worry about that complexity. They're all lined up and nest into each other. So the 15 groups are divided into 55 types. So for example, Group A is subdivided into 4 different subtypes. And then again, those 4 subtypes are then subdivided again into 16 subsegments. The same information exists for all. Groups are often used for strategic purposes, types for targeting, and segments for the purposes of fine-grained targeting or understanding, or the creation of bespoke segmentations or model building. The 135 person types have a specific purpose, and they are created by subdividing each of the 55 types by the individuals in the whole, split by gender and generation. To develop that distinction, take C11, Home to Roost, contains 4 adult-aged consumers. Type C11 is split into 4 person types, C11A, Colin, the father, C11B, Diane, and these are just example names we know to be more likely found in homes that contain consumers of this ilk. Diane is the mother, C11C, Bradley, the son, and finally C11D, Shannon, the daughter. These 4 splits are very useful for our clients as it allows them to speak to specific people within the home, rather than always communicating with the head of household or speaking to the daughter based on an understanding of the home rather than the person. If you were a bank with a very digital-centric app or app-orientated offer in an attempt to increase your appeal to the younger demographic, it might make sense to talk to Bradley and Shannon about it. Likewise, there's little point speaking to all those found in C11 Home to Roost about moving their pension provision or new savings and investment vehicles. For those types, you'd want to ensure that you're speaking to Diane or Colin. Financial strategy segments person types allows you to do that very thing. Often segmentations are derived through market research and focus groups. The problem, of course, is that the information gathered only relates to those asked the questions, and therefore cannot be used to segment your entire database. It can't be used for market sizing, and it can't be used for acquisition. Experian's consumer segmentations are UK-wide. Every adult that we believe exists, every house and every postcode has financial strategy segments assigned to it. We can put financial strategy segments on the ground, allowing you to know exactly where every B09 astute new estater is in the UK. One very simple way of viewing how the groups and types compare is via what we call the family tree. It's a two-dimensional representation of how the types, in this instance, relate to each other on an age and affluence dimensions. This works well for financial strategy segments as consumers enter the market for different products based on age, initially looking at basic banking, moving through credit to a position of saving and investing, before pensions become more of a priority later in life. Levels of affluence dictate the type of product offered, be it premium banking, packaged benefits, wealth management, amongst many others. So for example, if we have a client who attracts business from a larger than expected number of B09 astute new estaters, top left corner of this chart, a similar offering may work well with B08 liberal affluence, B05 family gains, and B06 springboard parents. The lines between the nodes show the closest connection between the different types and are not only based on age and affluence. Observed performance has increased on average by 10%, up to a maximum of about 25% in places, and I'll explain how we evaluate performance of a segmentation solution shortly, and that's compared to our previous version of this product. We're providing more insight than ever before. We've listened to our clients, we've included the attitudinal and aspirational elements, along with more insight than ever before in the functional areas too, be it switching, pensions, insurance, telcos. And we've built financial strategy segments in a way that allows things to change, be updated. We can easily reflect the changing world through new and updated profiles. We're now in a position through data partnerships and visualization platforms where we can include and leverage new insight over time. So if a brand disappears, we can remove it. If interest-only mortgages become a thing of the past, we can remove those too. If MySpace makes a comeback or a new way to bank emerges, financial strategy segments can reflect this, and as soon as we're aware and have the data, we can upload it for you to benefit to. Now, performance is measured by how well our segmentation products are able to divide up your customers. So take this example. If we only had 4 segments and when appending it to your customers we found that the frequency was very close to national representation, so small bar charts and little improvement over the diagonal line on the chart on the right, we'd be doing a bad job as our segmentation wouldn't really be telling you very much. Slightly better. Whereas this is much better, and this is the sort of profile and gain that we expect. We combine the capability of the segmentation to create strong profiles and deliver an increased ability to isolate the people in your customer base. Combined with the gains chart, we derived, based on the Gini coefficient, a single measure of performance called list score, and that is what I was quoting. It's this sort of profile exercising that we would always be the first step on any journey of using financial strategy segments to influence the way that you do things today. Now, I've alluded to it a number of times. Against each of the groups, types, segments and person types, we have a large amount of data. Some of the broader themes are on the screen now, and we'll go into a little bit more detail on each. It's at this stage where you will hopefully see things that you wish you knew about your customers' behaviours, attitudes and aspirations, as well as the more quantifiable aspects such as product holding, pension provider, current account type, number of credit cards used, even insurance claim satisfaction, and so on. So within switching behaviours, we're answering questions related to switch intent, their attitudes at renewal stage, research methods, result of price comparison website usage, and which price comparison websites different groups and types use. From an insurance perspective. We have insight on policies held, policy type, add-ons, which providers are providing insurance policies, and claims. Lots of information on incomes, be it disposal, equivalised, views on past and future financial outlook. We're even including provider information on pensions, views on the likelihood of that pension being sufficient. Remember my comments about P09s. We don't feel that our pension will be sufficient to sustain us later in life. General banking includes account types, providers, preferred features and functions, along with current account satisfaction. Who provides these groups and types of credit cards? How many do they have? How many do they use? And what do they think of the providers? Mortgage product type, interest type, providers, outstanding value, it's all in there. There's also plenty of insight on savings and investments to sink your teeth into. Now we're getting into the good stuff. How does someone's attitude to luxury items affect their decision making? Is it correlated with their outlook on life? How receptive, self-reported it may be, are different groups and types of different advertising? A group or type's opinions on the wealth tax, the minimum wage and the benefits system all allow you to get a better understanding of consumers in the marketplace. Similarly, the device, the channel, the media your customers use to research, apply and understand the products and services available today are interesting data points which can help improve your understanding. Okay, so that's as detailed a view as we'll take the data for the moment. I'll show you the interface for how we convey all of this insight. I mentioned before our website, www.segmentationportal.com. This is the home of all of our visualizations for our consumer segmentation products. You can't access it today. You can access it today, but it won't have financial strategy segments on it yet, as we're still developing the finalized version, and this is a sneak preview after all. You'll find a number of our other products there for you to look at, most notably Mosaic, our market-leading geodemographic consumer segmentation product. However, I do have access to a development server, which I'll navigate to now. This is exactly what segmentationportal.com looks like. All of the solutions we have on this platform are scrolling across the page. Clicking on the image on the right will take you through to any of the solutions, although access is restricted at this point to only one group and type. For a full user experience, we will need an account setting up, and we're happy to grant access to this at the point of launch for a trial period so you can take a closer look in your own time. Also on this page is some advice around why you would choose to segment, how our clients use segmentation products, as well as links to Experian's other products and services. And further down, although this hasn't loaded because it's a development server, there are our blogs and our Twitter feed, which will share relevant content. Keep an eye on our Twitter feed and LinkedIn pages, as we're starting to and will continue to share details of financial strategy segments in the lead up to our launch events. The reason for a login is to create a seamless user experience. We have a number of clients who take multiple products from us that are all visualized on segmentationportal.com, along with a good number who also use our platform to bring their internal classifications to life. Visualization is hard, so why not use a dynamic, configurable platform to do the heavy lifting? So if I log in, you'll notice the top portion of the page is changed to reveal 3 sections, and a drop-down appears with all the segmentations I have assigned to my account. The site is broken up into 3 distinct sections. Understand. Get into the detail of a group and a type. Compare. As the name suggests, compare any of the 2,500 data points across the groups and types. Discover. Now, this is still in development, but this is the area where you can enter a criteria of your own choosing from the data points in financial strategy segments, and it will play back to you that criteria in the language of financial strategy segments. telling you which groups or types are most similar to the criteria you entered. You've seen this screen on the slide. Slowly they'll start to turn over and show you the types of people and properties we believe they live in. And you can turn this off by toggling the animation on the right hand side. You can also toggle between the groups and types on the right too. You can even look up your postcode and see what we think. Bear in mind this is less likely to be an exact representation of your household as it is a postcode lookup. It is the culmination of the effect that we see of the types of people in your postcode. It will give you a general view rather than a specific household view. And you can very quickly get an understanding of the number of different metrics by reordering these tiles by the topics you can see lower down on the right hand side. So if I click price comparison usage, so you can see that D14 cost optimizers and C13 maximum outlay are very high up on the use of price comparison websites. Let's say we're curious about the other aspects of cost optimizers world. We can click on the tile to find out more. Here we're taken to the panels page where we can gain a very swift understanding of the salient points regarding D14 cost optimizers. There are young families in small affordable modern homes maximising their finances with savvy deals via smartphones and tablets and make up 1.66% of households and 1.68% of the people in the UK. They have a few credit cards and next to no savings, whereby 25.2% have savings of less than £250. This is much more likely than the UK average. The 167 suggests that cost optimizers are 67% more likely than the UK population to have less than £250 savings. Were you wanting to communicate with cost optimizers, you better make sure you have an online offering. They are more likely to complete tasks online, be that researching, applying, servicing or administrating. A branded email communication is more likely to grab their attention. We know this from the @ sign inside the star in the top right of the channel preference section. Online newsletters work too, but to a lesser extent. Social is where it's at for cost optimizers. They are almost 2.5 times more likely than the UK average to engage on social media. So if you want to get the message to cost optimizers, then social networks are somewhere where you will find them spending a lot of their time. If you are a credit provider, cost optimizers are less likely to be at the prime end of the market. Delphi for Marketing combines the wealth of marketing data and public information that is available from Experian to generate scores based on individuals' credit risk, helping you to make sure you only send communication to people that are likely to be eligible on application. We provide it in an aggregated format in financial strategy segments, but it is available at a more granular level as a standalone product. We also bring each group and type to life with imagery to give you a sense of who these people are. And then at the very bottom, we're able to help you understand how many cost optimizers we know of and those who we can help you speak to via traditional channels. You can scroll between the groups and types using arrows at the top either side of the banner. And on the left hand side we've got a lot of additional information within each group and type to show you. We have a word cloud which encapsulates the essence of cost optimizers, but also a longer written description under common headings that really get under the skin of each group and type. I mentioned about being able to put fizz on the ground. In our mapping section you can see just that. Initially it's high-level geographic aggregations, but as I zoom in you get more granularity. So we're going through various different levels of geography, and now loading postal sectors around these blue droplets. And as we zoom in closer, we'll then reveal a number of postcode points. And then further still, trying to keep it in the centre of the screen, finally we have household points, coloured according to the group and type. Now if we click on these blue markers, a pop-up appears as showing us the house of an actual D14 cost optimizer. Clicking this image takes you to Google Street View, right outside of the property. It's a neat trick, but an important one, as you can perhaps infer a few things by looking at the cars people drive, how well maintained the home is, and panning around shows you the type of neighbourhood. All are potential signals as to the attitudes and aspirations of the inhabitants that will undoubtedly influence their decision making. You'll recognise this chart from earlier. It's how the types in financial strategy segments relate to each other on age and affluence. As before, you can easily switch between groups and types. But what's really useful about this is the section that we call custom. And this is the ability to understand the relationship between the groups or types based on metrics that are important to you. And to do that, we click the custom button. There's a very limited amount of data here, as we're still finishing this section, but hopefully you can get an understanding of what can be done. By launch, all metrics that suit a continuous or binary scale will be present in this section. So if I set household size as the x-axis, and age band as the y-axis, clicking go reshuffles the groups, all the types around these two data points, so that you can understand the relationship between the types on these two metrics. Now, not many of you probably base your decision around this combination of data, but if you were looking to develop something around groups who occupy the same building or address, sharing the costs of building insurance perhaps aimed at young people, let's say students, then you could do worse than use types E18, D16 and D15 to start with, as they occupy the youngest end of the age bands and live in properties occupied by a higher than average number of people. Futures is brand new functionality and peerless in the market. Futures provides you with the ability to project the current occupants of a household or postcode forward 25 years. This is particularly useful if you operate within a certain age group or affluence level or both. By understanding who is most likely to become your perfect customer in the future allows you to start to build brand equity and have longer term conversations with the right consumer today, rather than wait for them to move to the correct fizz group or type. By that time it may be too late. A competitor may have beaten you to the customer, or the customer may have already made their choice. Futures offers our first ever view of how we believe the needs of consumers in households and postcodes will change over time. The chart you are seeing here are UK-wide transitions and are provided free inside the segmentation portal. We can understand that of today's D14 cost optimizers, we expect that in 5 years' time, 7.6 to 7% to become C12 sharing economy. This appears on top of the chart, but can also be seen in the legend on the right. If we untick cost optimizers, it makes it all a little bit clearer. A few years further into the future, between years 12 and 13, we actually expect a greater proportion of today's cost optimizers to be found in G27 midlife motivation than sharing economy. Separate to what is shown in the segmentation portal, as tempting and as useful as it is, we have this feature projection at a household and postcode level which, due to its size, can't really be stored in the portal and is delivered separately. But I want to specifically highlight that based on the makeup of a given household or postcode, the transitions we expect to occur will occur at different rates, some slower, some faster, and it all depends on where a given household or postcode sits on the underlying data points. So for example, today, in Nottingham, where I am today, there's a raft of D14s, cost optimizers. We've previously been unable to give our clients a mechanism to treat one cost optimizer any differently to another. And that changes today with futures. All the imagery we use in support of the financial strategy segments is high definition and helps deepen your understanding of who we mean when we talk about astute new estates or cost optimizers. So here it is, the data section, the engine room of financial strategy segments. Here you will find all of the data points categorized for easy searching that will help you understand how groups and types differ to the UK average, what makes them different and what makes them tick. I summarised these for you previously and you'll find everything I mentioned earlier in this list. So for example, based on the poll earlier, so who do cost optimizers bank with? Let's have a look at their main bank account company. A little bit slow. Oh, there we go. So if we rank that data, we can see that Nationwide, Halifax and HSBC are popular. But are they satisfied with their current accounts? Well, not surprising really. Cost optimizers, they optimize on cost and therefore probably loyalty is probably behind cost on their agenda. Sorry, loyalty is probably behind cost on their agenda. If we click mortgages, so we can see that cost optimizers are more likely to have a mortgage between £50,000 and £250,000. And they'll have that on repayment terms. Who provides the mortgage? Well, again, we've got Halifax, Nationwide and HSBC, they're all in there preferred along with a few other brands. So it's interesting, have cost optimizers obtained preferential rates on their largest monthly outgoing by taking a current account with the same provider? I think we're starting to build a detailed picture. And if you wanted to get the attention of cost optimizers, what would you do? Well, we can see here that they purchase financial products online. And they do it on their smartphones. Mentioned before, branded emails do work, but it's all about social media for cost optimizers. They are more likely than the UK population to be a member of any social network, and that takes some doing. Twitter advertising isn't maybe as big as Twitter would like it to be, so let's take a look at Facebook, which is very much a viable platform for advertising. Cost optimizers are more likely to visit Facebook several times a day. And unsurprisingly, cost optimizers visit Facebook very frequently by their smartphones. So in summary, if cost optimizers were your target market or a large portion of your existing customer base, then financial strategy segments can tell you that they're very open to the idea of preferential rates and reduced costs by linking products. And to get that message across, you better be sure your website is optimized for mobile, and a cost-effective acquisition channel would be Facebook, as they visit more often than the average consumer. Just make sure your ads and messages are optimized for mobile. That's just one of the uses. There's millions more, and you've seen for yourself the depth of data in financial strategy segments, each increasing your understanding of different consumers for every person, household and postcode in the UK. The final functionality to show you here is a comparison across the groups and types of any given data point. So let's take a look at investments, let's say. So total investable assets. Not exactly a surprise, cost optimizers have few investable assets, but who does? So if I click on the bar of £1 million and above, we're taken to the compare section, and I mentioned this some time ago. This is a single chart showing you how more or less likely someone is to have investable assets of £1 million. And as you'd expect, we can rank this data. It's types from within Group F, established investors, and Group N, golden age, that are the most likely to fit the bill. Top of the tree is F22, executive dividends. Clicking the bar takes us back into the understand section for executive dividends. High status households with large detached homes and exclusive postcodes working actively to maximise their portfolios. That's how we bring financial strategy segments to life for our users. I mentioned earlier how it is useless unless you can do something with all this new insight. Put it on the ground, make it work for you to deliver your customer engagement needs across all channels. And we put financial strategy segments to work across all major channels. Direct mail and email are a given, but it's getting more complex. Consumers use multiple devices, have information at their fingertips, and hold a lot of the power in today's complex and ever-changing marketplace. To satisfy your needs and to underline our commitment to ensuring you can do the right thing by consumers, we embed our segmentation products in the existing, emerging and bleeding edge channels. This list is probably already out of date as we're constantly onboarding new partners, moving with the market to ensure that we can ensure the right consumer is receiving the right message at the right time on the right device by the right channel. Now we're having a couple of launch events for financial strategy segments where you'll hear even more about how financial strategy segments can help you achieve your customer engagement needs. We'll be in London on January the 25th and Edinburgh on the 31st. I do hope you've enjoyed what you've heard today. If you'd like to take the conversation on a step, then we are running a beta program whereby we can code up your data with financial strategy segments, share existing content and take you through how our product can help. I'll put my contact details at the end. Either drop me an email, give me a call, or complete the contact us form on our website. The URL will be on the final slide too. All we ask in return is that you give us some feedback on how well the product works for you. Anything you think is missing. It'd be good if. Why doesn't it do this? How can I? Those type of things. We're all ears. So that's it from me. I apologise for taking slightly longer than I promised, but there's just literally so much to tell you about. So I'll now pass it over to you for questions, and we'll go quiet for a few minutes whilst they come in, and we'll come back soon to answer them. Okay, so we've had one question in specifically about Facebook, which is obviously a key communication channel, a key way that we can engage with consumers, and how we're able to make that happen. So Experian are one of the global partners with Facebook. We match our data across both parties, which allows us to build up audiences. So let's say you're working with financial strategy segments and you want to particularly demystify the price comparison website world for people by offering them a very simple, clear offering and way to engage with a product that you're offering. Knowing the financial strategy segments, groups and types that match that criteria, we can then build an audience for you and then deploy that for you as a private audience within Facebook to ensure that your adverts and messages appear in the newsfeed of individuals. So it's very much a thing we can do, and like I mentioned, all those channels that were on that previous slide, they're the type of channels that we can help you deploy your messages through to make sure that you get to the right consumer via the right channel. So we have another question in terms of what resources will be available other than the website. So the website is the key one really. It's the main way that we help you get to know and love cost optimizers, astute new estaters, affluent view. But we do have product sheets. We will be doing some educational videos, and ultimately what you really want to be having is a conversation with an account manager here at Experian who can take you through the journey of starting to use our segmentation products to achieve your goals. We've had another question about the launch event in London. So we've got the date, we've got some venues provisionally booked, we're just choosing between one or the other. So I can't tell you definitively where it would be, but we'll take that question offline and we'll be in touch around where it is. Okay, I think that's all for now. Any last ones from anybody? If not, I'll call it to a close. I'll thank everyone for their time. I hope you found it interesting, and I'll hand you back to Gemma. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will make the recording available along with further details of our resources and how you can sign up for the events in London and Edinburgh. So thank you very much for your time. Have a great afternoon and hopefully be back in touch with you soon. Goodbye.